Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup, and you're listening to Hey Amarillo, the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record every week at Amarillo College's Innovation Outpost. The I.O. supports education, workforce development, and industry growth by inspiring and facilitating innovation in the Texas Panhandle. Today's guest is Representative Caroline Fairley. Caroline is fresh off legislative session, which was a long, but for her, really quite successful one, certainly it having been her first session since being elected. Caroline talks about that crazy experience, what she got done, why she got into office in the first place, especially as the youngest woman elected to the state house, how her politically engaged family affects her service, as well as how she views her past and future. Here's Caroline. Caroline Fairley, welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Thanks, Skylar. I'm glad to be here today.
We're certainly happy to have you. We start these the same with every guest, and that is just, where are you from?
I'm from Amarillo, Texas.
Very good. Now, is your family from here?
Yes, well, a little bit. My mom grew up in Fort Worth, and my dad grew up in Alamogordo, New Mexico, actually. And then
cool.
they met at WT, West Texas. My mom was she's in orchestra there in college. And I think my dad saw her and asked her out, and then they got married and, planted their roots here in Amarillo.
How fun.
Yeah.
What did they study at WT?
Ooh, that's a great question, and I should know that. I believe my dad did computer science, I want to say, and then my mom was a music major and then did education.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's her instrument?
Violin.
It's violin, that's right.
She's actually played in the Amarillo Symphony, I think, almost 30 years.
Oh,
either
that's
at
lovely.
30 or almost there. So she's played quite a while.
The violin's my favorite instrument.
Oh, really?
I don't play it, but I think it's beautiful.
I love it. My sister and I also both play. So I played since I was 5 years old. And it's I think in high school, I wanted to quit often. And my parents were like, just keep doing it. I did
Sure.
it through the Suzuki program. And now I look back and it's probably one of the best things. I'm so glad I went through because you can pick it up. I can play in weddings or at church and other things like that. So it's really fun.
That's neat. Yeah. I'm glad to know that about you.
Yeah.
So your parents got together, and then siblings?
4 older siblings. I'm the youngest
You're
of
the
5.
baby.
I'm the baby.
Me too.
So you understand the perks of being the baby.
We are the favorite forever.
Forever. There's 4 olders. It's 3 boys, 2 girls. My brothers live in Amarillo here, and then my sister is in Denver with her husband and 3 kids. So we want her always to be in Texas, but they love being in Denver and have a great life there. So
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So what schools did you come up through?
I grew up going to San Jacinto, K through 12th, and then I went to Abilene Christian in college, and that was my education.
What did you study at Abilene Christian?
I studied business marketing and then a minor in communications.
What did you think you wanted to do with that?
I was always interested in the private sector business, I think partially because of what my family does. And so that was a natural interest that I had, but I really wasn't sure. I don't know if any 18-year-old is like, I think there are a lot, but I was definitely not one of those that's like, this is what I'm going to do. This is my plan. But I knew I had an interest in business. So I was really involved. They had a lot of programs at ACU that were really incredible that helped. You got to run your own student-run business. So I got to do a lot of run a T-shirt business. We had a thing called CEO Chapel or something like that. And we brought in CEOs, got to interview them. So I got a lot of exposure that helped me understand, I think, broader the scope of business and get to meet a lot of interesting people. And I loved it a lot. It's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
So was there, I know it's a big family business, and I believe some of your siblings are involved as well.
Yes.
Was there an expectation for you to work for the family business? Or?
Not at all. In fact, it was never spoken about. I don't even think my dad ever had a plan on having his kids work in the business. I remember when he first started the company, he had gone around. I think I can't remember what time Caleb, the oldest, after he was a professional cyclist, my oldest brother, lived in New York for about 10 years, raced professionally, and then moved back home to Amarillo, was, I think, going to start working in the family company. And I think at that time we were navigating what would that look like. And so I remember he told us my dad went to go meet with 10 CEOs all across, Texas and the country that he knew and that were family businesses to figure out what worked and what didn't work.
Oh,
like
nice.
if you're going to work with your kids, you know, you've heard there's like horrific stories that can happen with family companies. So he sat down with these CEOs and asked them what worked, what didn't. And the main two things they said was, one, don't give your kids raises they don't deserve, and don't give them promotions they don't deserve. And so we all have, you know, worked from the bottom and had to kind of work our way up. And obviously the expectation is different because people assume things, and
Sure.
that's fine. That's naturally so. But the expectation is you have to work to get where you're going to get. And so I'm thankful there's never any pressure. I never planned on coming to work. We all went away and did our own thing and came back. So, but it is I love it. It's a blessing. And it's a really special thing to get to do with your family.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you went away. So after Abilene, you went to DC, right?
I did.
How'd that happen?
Well, that's a great question. I was in my junior year of college. I believe it was my junior year of college. COVID hit. I went home. I had an internship that summer that fell through, and I applied to go work for Ronnie Jackson. I was like, I just need a summer gig, make some money. I had no interest in politics. It wasn't like I was like, this is the path I want to go down. No, not at all. I mainly just needed a summer job, and I'd heard about Ronnie. I was like, oh, this will be a great opportunity. I'll get a good exposure. I'll learn from him. This will be great. So
that would have been in his first term. Yeah.
It was his first term. Right. Yes. And I was involved in I was student class president at ACU, but never, like I said, I was involved and interested in business really.
Yeah.
And so I worked on his campaign, and when he won, he offered me a job in DC. He was like, hey, I'd love for you to come move. It was my senior year of college. And I was deciding, do I finish online? Do I go to DC? This is an incredible opportunity for me to get to move as a 21-year-old for my first job.
Yeah.
And I ended up deciding to take it. So I moved when I was 21 to DC and worked for him there and really learned a lot and enjoyed it. Got exposed to a lot of, I think, great things that hindsight looking back, I don't think this current job being a state rep would be near as good or understand it as well had I not been exposed to DC. And so that was great. Moved back to Texas and then got involved with our family company there.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a good amount of friends that have done the DC thing, and whether they ended up staying in policy, politics, government, all of the above, it's just a really great experience.
It is. I think everybody who gets a chance, even when you're in college, to just have even an internship or summer, I think it's so beneficial for career growth, for exposure, just understanding policy. All of that is so, I think, helpful and beneficial, and I'm really thankful I got it. So I think it was the third day on the job, January 6th happened. So it was a wild first.
What was that like? You were there.
I was there. It was insane. We went to, I went to Biden's inauguration, and then it rained and snowed all within the same 4-hour period of his inauguration. And then obviously started my job. It was in the midst of COVID, so everything was shut down. I mean, I had to get tested for COVID before I even went into the Capitol and started my job. And so it was just complete shutdown. Nobody was out in DC, and you can imagine it's a more liberal-based city, so obviously it was going to be more shut down. And so I remember January 6th, Ronnie was on the House floor, and at that time, hindsight, you remember you don't know what's going on at all.
So you were in the building?
I was in the building. Wow. I was in Cannon in our office. And so Ronnie was on the floor, and I was texting him and saying, hey, I think I was watching some YouTube live vlogger of somebody who was trying to get into the Capitol.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm texting him hey, there's some folks outside the Capitol. Hope you're okay. I'm sure everything's fine. And didn't hear anything. And then I'm hey, they're actually in the Capitol. Are they telling you anything? And then next thing you know, I was hey, they're about to enter the chamber, it looks like.
Right. Things are popping
and at
off.
that time, hindsight, you don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
And so, anyways, he ended up being obviously fine. They shut the chamber doors. They evacuated all the members. And then Ronnie had come back to the office and everything was fine. And obviously it was, I believe, very blown out of proportion. Should people break into the Capitol? Absolutely not. Right. There was nothing okay with that. But also, it kind of took a little extreme view, I think, whenever we.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So was I can understand the idea of you don't kind of know the seriousness of it while you're in it, but was your family because you're 21, 22?
I was 21. And I think I was texting, my parents I think had reached out and be hey, are you okay? And I was I'm great. And I think keep us are you impacted? And thankfully, like where Cannon is, there's all these tunnels that connect all the buildings. So obviously, like practically thinking, there's no way people, if you don't know the tunnels and how to work them, you would just get lost.
Right.
Like it's just not possible. And it was also very clear once they entered the Capitol, it wasn't like it's clear there was no agenda or plan. It was very odd to be like, okay, you broke into the Capitol and now nothing is going on, So obviously there were, I think, I remember walking afterwards. I wanted to go check out what had happened because there was I think one woman passed away, which was horrible. Yeah. And then there was a gunshot into one of the glass walls or whatever. So I went to go see that and took a photo of it. And it was really interesting to just go back and see what had happened. But after that, it was complete lockdown. So it was like it felt like I was on a military camp. Like I would walk from Cannon to the Capitol, or in the morning sometimes I'd go to run, and there would be like 6x6 military marching in arm. I have photos I'll have to show you where I'm like walking and I take a picture, and it's like I feel like I'm on like a army campground. Yeah. And it was really intense. And it was also funny because a lot of these men who had been brought in to DC, the National Guard, they had never, I don't think, been to DC. And so they would be taking pictures like in the Capitol as if they were
like a tourist
touring. And it was that was also like such an odd thing to see. And obviously everything ended up being fine, but it was like complete lockdown. I think to get in, we had to go through like 2 checkpoints. Sure. So it was, and I get like for the concern of and safety, they have to do that. However, it felt way blown out of proportion. That was like, I don't think all of this is necessary.
How interesting, though, I think, for better or for worse, to have that front row of a seat to, a huge historical moment is pretty incredible.
It was really incredible. I remember, I think I journaled about it because I was like, this is wild. I've third day on the job and here we are, and it's
your
COVID.
Third day on the job.
It was like my third or I guess sixth day. I started January 1st. And 21 years old. And anyways, it was quite an experience. So
something to tell your kids about.
It's definitely something to tell my kids about. And it was interesting.
Well, that's cool. So you came, you finished your work with Ronnie Jackson's office, came home and went to work at AccuNet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. What'd you do there?
Negotiating medical bills. So we do a lot of like the NFL, MLB, NHL. We manage the claims for those athletes. So when an athlete gets injured, we'll receive the claim, the medical bill. We'll work with this either the hospital or CFO of the hospital and talk about rates that are affordable and reasonable. Obviously, doctors should be paid well. They should be paid soon. I think that's a lot of concerns is doctors don't get paid till way later in the process when insurance gets involved. But also 5,000% of Medicare is not sustainable for anybody. So we really are all about relationships. We want to find middle ground between, advocating for our patients and, who we're managing risk for, but also making sure the doctor gets paid well and gets paid as soon as possible. And it works really well because when we get on the phone, and it's honestly just, I think, part of life that we should all be good at is sitting down, having conversations, talking about the things we may disagree or agree on, and let's figure out a common ground. And so that's what I did, and then eventually was over our whole training team for negotiations and hired and trained people how to do those medical bills.
Well, that's cool. So first, I think your family gets some attention in town, and I think a lot of people don't know what the family business is, and it's really cool that it's professional sports ball teams. I'm not a sports person, so I refer to it as sports ball. But I always when I learned that, I was like, that's so interesting that you guys hold the policies for the teams.
We love it, and there's a lot. We sell we do out-of-network solutions, we do reference-based pricing, and then do a little bit in the pharmacy world. So we have several different products we sell, but I mainly work in the out-of-network solutions. So, and
then I also hadn't put together before how your role in negotiating, coming to the table, finding common ground, is so very applicable to your role now as a state rep. That's cool.
I did not realize how, when I was running, I talked about that, and I was hoping and knew there's a lot of negotiating, but you don't know what you don't know until you're in office.
Sure.
And then when I was in Austin, I was thinking, whoa, this is amazing that I've had 3 or 4 years of just practicing this, and then here we are getting to, implement it with policy.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
And probably a pretty big blessing.
It was a huge blessing.
I can do this.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're just talking about different stuff.
Yeah, just different, totally different topic, but same principles. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're running the training department at AccuNet. How long did you do that?
A few years.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And then
And then
you were like, why don't I go
I thought,
be a state rep?
Why don't I run for office at 24 years old? So, when people are like, your life experience, I'm like, well, mine is a little, if I'm honest, very much so a little limited considering I'm now only 26. So, anyways, but yeah, then I decided to run for office.
How did that happen?
Well, for Price, obviously, who has been so amazing for this district.
The best.
Amarillo, incredible.
Yep. Big shoes, too.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about like a little intimidating at the time.
Course.
Everyone, they're like, 4 is amazing, he's incredible, and he is incredible. But I was like, oh boy, this is some pressure to live up to.
Yeah, right.
So the seat had opened up, and I had a couple folks reach out and say, hey, what do you think about this? We think, like, given your time in D.C., you're young, you could just be good at it. And
sure.
I immediately was like, no, not interested. I don't know enough about what this role looks like. Mm-hmm. Am I old enough? Like, that was one of my questions was, I think there's an age limit
literally.
on this. And I'm 24. Like, it was mainly like, you're crazy. The same as I think a lot of people, when I first announced, were like, what? A 24-year-old running for office? And I spent the next 3 months I met with, everybody I could who was in the process, a part of the process, involved politically, to understand what this role looked like. Because one thing I cared a lot about was when I loved what I was doing at AccuNet. Like, I love my job there. Mm-hmm. And giving it up wasn't just going to be, or at least it was going to alter. Like, I can't be over a training team when you're in Austin for 8-9 months of the year.
For sure.
So the role was going to change. And I was actually about to be promoted over a different portion and do more. And so it was like, this is where my career is going. I love this. It's incredible. I love working with my family.
Yeah.
And then also this option of public service. And so I knew that after the 3 months, the more I learned about it, the more I'd be either drawn to it and say, okay, this is something I think I could be good at, I would enjoy, or I'd be like, this is not for me.
Yeah. And
the more conversations I had, the more I was frankly compelled about Gen Z getting involved in the political process. I think obviously there's a valid argument to say the experience I have is going to be different than a 50-year-old, obviously. But I also think having a fresh perspective and younger people be involved in the process is really important. And also this idea that we can work with people across the aisle and we can find common ground. This is not like DC in the Texas Ledge.
That's right.
And I cared a lot about that. And so, and prayed a lot and got a lot of counsel about, can I withstand the pressure that comes with the job? There's a lot of pressure that comes with it, and you don't really know the pressure until you're in the job. And then also just, would I deliver results? Like, that was a really important thing for me, was if I'm going to run and win, I need to be able to feel like I can deliver results for Amarillo, for District 87, and take it seriously. And so throughout learning the process, I thought, okay, I can't not do this. That's how it felt. I thought I have to do this, and then maybe I won't win, and that will be my answer, and I'll go back, and we'll see what happens. And so I ended up running, and thankfully here we are today.
Yeah. And today we are a couple months past your first session and 2 subsequent specials. So not only did you get all of spring, but most of the summer in Austin as well.
Exactly.
How do you feel?
I am a little tired. Thankfully, I'm getting back on a little more regular sleep schedule, because you know this, but those who may not know, since we meet every other year for 140 days, it's like crammed pack 140 days. And then when you have 2 specials, people are tired. Tensions get
cranky. People are cranky.
Oh my heavens, yes. At the end of the special, it started to become like true animosity towards each other.
Yeah.
Especially with redistricting and everything that was going on with that. Hemp belt. There was just a lot politically that was kind of intense. So I'm glad to be home in Amarillo. I'm glad to be catching up with the folks here, be back working. And yeah, it's good to be home.
You had a really successful first session.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's very kind. That's very generous of you to say, but thank you.
Yeah, as a freshman, you were put on some pretty good committees. You carried some pretty big bills, including like the cell phone ban in our schools, which I think has been like a widely, very well received kind of like tool for school districts. You were just put on some special committees. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think contributed to like some pretty quick success that you found?
I would say a few things. I think I last summer spent probably 3 months meeting with every single Republican state rep. Yeah. And then when I was sworn in, I started meeting with Democrats. And so there's 88 Republicans and 62 Democrats in the Texas House. And so you can imagine I was like road tripping. I would enter into ChatGPT actually, and I'd be like, I need to go. I would do it kind of by county. Yeah. So I'd be like, I'm going to Dallas. These are the 5, cities I need to go to. Make the most efficient route for me. And it was incredible because I would just do that and kind of figure out my day. So, anyways, I spent a lot of time. I mean, probably over 100 hours sitting down with these people, getting to know other reps from other parts of Texas. And that was beneficial for a number of reasons. I think one, it helped me understand the lay of the land politically, like who are your players? What are the factions? There's a lot of, if I'm candid, political animosity between the Republican caucus right now. And I think to some degree there will always be. I think when you have the majority, there's just tends to be that struggle for power. You see it in other states that are a majority. And so in some ways, I think that's good too. It's like part of democracy. You can have your opinion and say what you think. And so anyways, that was really helpful, meeting with all these other reps, understanding too what they care about. I think that's something that when you understand what someone in East Texas cares about or Dallas, it helped me better understand how can I connect with them on legislation I'm carrying and also understand where they're coming from if they have concerns about water or rural issues or healthcare. I mean, so many issues are rural versus urban rather than R versus D.
For sure.
So I think that was helpful coming into the session, already having established relationships. I remember, for example, I wanted to be on appropriations, which is, this, but the budget. And it's probably one of the most powerful committees to be on because you get to decide where the funding goes in the state of Texas. And I met with Chairman Bonin, who's the chair of that committee, like 3 or 4 times to express, hey, I want to be an advocate. I want to be on the team. I want to be helpful. I really want to be effective for my district, and I would love to learn from you. And I think that was helpful. I made it very vocal about things I cared about. And I think people underestimate when you at least tell somebody, I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
And I would like to be helpful and I'd like to learn from you.
Yeah.
Most people say yes, honestly. And so I think the relationship part was really the key. I made a really hard vote for the speaker. That was a really controversial speaker's race. We wouldn't go into all the detail of that. That'd be like a whole other podcast. But that was I was in a minority of voting for the speaker. And thankfully, I think at that time in January, I got called all kinds of names, Skylar. I was blown away at the amount of social media about other members. It was a very intense first 2 months for me. But ultimately, I voted for the guy who I thought would be the best leader for the House, the best leader to deliver results for us. Speaker Dustin Burrows, he's from Lubbock. And so having representation for the Panhandle like this is, I can't emphasize enough how impactful it is for us here in Amarillo. He understands the issues. He gets our people, and he has a seat at the table that is going to help the Panhandle. And so ultimately, at the end of the session, everybody was thrilled. The lieutenant governor, the governor have endorsed him to become speaker again. He delivered a lot of great results. So overall, I think it was taking that really hard vote and then also the relationships I built last summer.
Yeah, I can imagine going in. You're the youngest female, is that right?
I think for sure in the House, yes.
In the House, yeah.
I'm the youngest member of the House, and I think the youngest Republican woman ever elected. Something like
cool.
that.
And I think that, I'm just kind of picturing you sitting down with with Chairman Bonin, saying, I want to learn, is probably pretty helpful to maybe disarm, you're not walking in going I'm young and smart and progressive and Gen Z and all of this stuff, and exactly. I can imagine that would turn heads and go okay.
Totally. And that was a lot of my meetings were mostly, I listened. I asked questions. I didn't talk about myself. I mainly said, I want to learn. And that was one thing that's such a huge asset at being young is that I'm able to frankly say, and I can be truthful in it, that I'm still learning. And people took me under their wing and they wanted to help me. And I think that's true for everybody. I think when people are more willing to listen than assume things about other people, it ends up being more impactful.
Yeah. Does your marketing feel like a shot in the dark? Are your social media posts getting lost in the scroll? Unlock your business's potential with SKP Creative. They know your audience and design posts that reflect your brand and drive real engagement. From scroll-stopping social media content to powerful traditional marketing, graphic design, and website development, SKP Creative covers it all. Are you ready to elevate your feed and turn your marketing into a success story? Visit skpcreative.com today. So it sounds like your approach, you got in there and were tenacious and learned a lot. It sounds like you took kind of a bold vote and it worked out for you because Burroughs was elected as chairperson. I want to also talk about the influence of your dad. Your dad's Alex Fairley.
Yes. He's
become increasingly political over the last handful of years, kind of first in the city and continues in the city and then expanded to statewide.
Yes.
In my thinking about that can probably be really helpful and probably sometimes be a little bit difficult.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
So that's a great question, Skylar. Yeah, my father has become, I would say, more politically involved statewide now than locally, and has quite a reputation now here in Texas that I think, honestly, both sides respect him a lot for the stances he's taken because they're practical, they're common sense, they're just good. I think they're great. So anyways, I remember when I first ran, obviously that was a concern about being able to understand that people were going to assume. Yeah. I think the most thing people would say is she can be puppet for Alex Fairley. And I remember having to answer those questions and talk about ultimately I am my own person. I'm independent. I'm very close with my father. I think I'm very inspired by his leadership and humility and admitting when he might be wrong, but also willing to come to the table and find actual solutions. I don't think we have as many people like that in politics anymore. Anyways, ultimately, though, I knew that the way that would be shown is just through the work. Like, ultimately, people can assume, but depending on the things and the results I deliver is really by my own accord and how much work you put in. And so I think that this session really showed that. But I would say mostly when you talk about hurtful and helpful, I think, one, the people who assume that I'm going to be owned by Alex, I will never change their mind probably. Honestly, like there's a portion of people that I think I can show you what I did this session. I can tell you all that I've done. But ultimately, if you think that, I'm probably maybe not going to change your mind. And I've kind of got to keep going. Yeah. And then I think that the people who are supportive, which is frankly, probably I would say 99% of people who think it's incredible and amazing and awesome. And so I would say mostly it's helpful in the sense of people respect his stances and what he's done. Obviously, we're two individual people who work in our own capacity and want to influence different things. But I'm mainly also just proud. Like, I'm so proud to be a part of a family that cares about mainly sitting down and having the hard conversations. Like when you look at the RPT party right now, trying to censure members off the ballot because they don't like him. When my dad took a stance on that and said, this just isn't democracy. Like, we cannot do this. People respect that. And I'm really proud to be a part of a family that believes in that and also have parents, my mom equally so, to have parents that mimic and live out these beliefs that we should live by. And by no means are we always perfect at all, but I think it's a really unique and an incredible opportunity.
That's lovely. I think to the headlines and the people, it's Alex Fairley, this big political guy, but he's your dad.
He's my dad.
He's your dad.
He's the dad who I remember in our household every Sunday morning, the oldest in the household got to have coffee with dad. It was like our thing, you know. And I remember I waited, you know, I'm the youngest, so I had to wait like 16 years to get to have my Sunday morning coffee with dad. And by the time my next oldest brother, Christian, graduated, we got to have our morning coffee. And obviously we would still get lunch other times and stuff.
Right, but it was this thing.
He's my dad. He's been so intentional with all of us. And he's a great role model.
That's cool. All right, back to you.
Yes.
I want to hear just briefly, I want to hear what it's really like in the building during session. Like, what's it like?
It is a wild show, I will tell you. I am like, it feels like a middle school playground. If I could just be candid with you. And I tell this to people, it feels like a middle school playground.
I'm triggered. I hated middle school.
Then that is how you probably would feel. No, it's very interesting. It's a lot of literally it's all about relationships. I cannot emphasize, like, if you're going to go into the Texas House and be aggressive all the time and bash people all the time, you are just not going to get things done. Yep. And that's like true of life. It's really true of life. I would say it feels like a middle school playground. It is definitely, there's a lot of petty moments. It's very intense. Long days, long hours. The more you get into session, the more intense, the more petty it becomes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and not always between Republicans, it can be Republicans and Democrats. There's a lot of, I think, healthy debate that goes on between good policy, bad policy. And then there's a lot of just, I would say, you really make your job what you want it to be. Like, I would say there's a portion of members that show up to Austin and they want to go out every night and have a good time, and they don't care as much about policy, and that's their decision. And then you also have another portion of members that say, hey, I actually want to deliver results. I want to pass policy. I want to be effective. I want to work hard. And those are the ones that frankly end up rising to the top more because frankly, that makes sense, common sense. And then I think there's a portion that loves to be on social media and tweet all the time rather than pass policy. So there's just different factions, and
cliques.
That was what was really, it's like different cliques.
Right.
And each clique kind of runs with their group, and that's how it works. And so, but that, I would say that's something I didn't know within really the whole caucus is the different factions that go on. There's definitely, I feel like when people ask me, who's your closest friend in Texas?
I was going to ask you. Who'd you make friends with?
Well, I made friends with a lot of people. Good. Hopefully. I would say, well, one, you have to be mindful because obviously it's a job. So you have friends with people, but you also at the same time are keeping in mind that, like, I'm here to represent my district. So we're not going to agree on every policy. And so the members I became close with were the ones that I could say, I'm not with you on this bill. I can't support it. And we could still have dinner that night and get along fine. And they understood. But the members who would be personal and say, this is horrible, you know, this isn't conservative, you're wrong, this doesn't make sense, when it was a water issue that said, this is best for Amarillo, I'm going to support this bill. That really was differentiating between who your real friends are and who you can get along with and who you can't. We're the ones that understand. Everybody has to represent their district. I can't be offended when someone from East Texas doesn't want to support my water bill because East Texas has different priorities than sometimes West Texas. So I would say there were a handful of members that I became close with through that.
Nice. What are you most proud of from session?
I would say, can I name two things?
Sure.
Does it have to be one?
It's great to have more than one thing.
I have a couple of things. I'm really proud of, I was really thankful, let's just say, and this was a team effort, of the funding that we delivered to this area, Amarillo, District 87. We delivered over $30 million for different things here, and I was really proud of that, whether it was wildfires, a couple of local things here, and I felt like that was a real impact to help the community. And so I was really thankful because I was on appropriations to have a seat at the table. Obviously, it was definitely a team effort, not just me.
Sure.
But I was really proud of that. I was really proud of some legislation I passed, it was, like the phone bill. I did not realize how beneficial that would be. You know, you don't realize, and I think that's the fear sometimes when you pass a bill, is what are the unintended consequences? And I think sometimes the thing I learned this session is, one, there's a lot of unfunded mandates. And then there's a lot of bills that just legislators aren't thinking about how it impacts all of Texas. And they pass the bill because it sounds great, it looks good, they get a news hit, and blah, blah, blah. And I care a lot about, like, if I'm going to pass a bill, how does this impact all of Texas? And is it practical? Does it make sense? I care more about less regulation. And so with this bill, I did have a concern about, ideally, we don't want the state involved in our schools like that. We don't. But then we also heard a lot from teachers and educators saying we need the states back on this and we need help. And so that was a really fun bill to work on because I worked with a lot of representatives on the other side of the aisle, Democrats. I had a lot of strong Democrat support on that bill because it was just a common sense legislation.
It's a very nonpartisan issue.
It is. And what was interesting about that bill when I was negotiating, you know, kind of the final bill, the language of the bill, at first there was conversation about being in a pouch. Are we going to force all school districts? And I said, well, when you look at the fiscal note of that, it is going to be insanely expensive. I mean, those pouches are $20.
Yeah, to force every school district to purchase pouches for every kid's cell phone.
Exactly. Yeah. And unless the state can fund it, I would assume they want probably that money to go somewhere else. Probably not to the pouches. Yeah. And so, but it was interesting in working with different parties, the different viewpoints. Like for Republicans, they were more like, this is good, it's kid safety, they're not looking at porn, they're able to focus in class. And from the Democrat viewpoint, it was a little more of the school safety portion they were concerned about. Obviously, both sides care about school safety, but it just obviously because of just the two different political beliefs.
Right.
They're going to have different opinions on the bill. So I really loved getting to find the common ground between two different parties about how do we find a common sense legislation that doesn't require pouches, that is, keeping in mind school safety is very important, but at the middle and at the end of the day, that protects kids from not being on their phones all day and helps teachers get back to teaching their kids. And so that took a lot of work behind the scenes negotiating to find the final bill. And I've been really thankful about how that's ended. I've had I had a bomb threat maybe it was 2 months ago.
Over cell phones.
And it was I was probably a 16, 17-year-old kid who called, and he was like, I think half the time they call me Congresswoman,
cool.
which is
we'll
which is totally fine. I take it. I'm like, I'm in DC.
Maybe
Austin.
one day.
Maybe one day. But they called me and they're like, Caroline, you're so silly and ridiculous for passing this bill. I hope your home gets bombed tonight.
Jeez.
Watch your back. And obviously we reached out to DPS. Yeah. And thankfully, the 16-year-old lives in Frisco, and so it was like not a real issue. Sure. But it was a little alarming at first because you're thinking, oh my heavens. And so, but I think post a month in, 2 months into school, 3 months in now, all the kids that we've heard from have said, wow, I didn't realize actually this is good. I'm enjoying school more. I actually like that I'm not comparing myself to other kids who have a phone and are seeing this on their phone. It's just clean slate. Nobody's having to do anything with the phone. So I think that overall it's been really good. And I'm thankful AISD had already led the way on this. Like that was so helpful, I think. And we worked a lot with them to say what worked and what didn't work. And so I'm thankful that we have community leaders here who are ahead of the curve.
Yeah, doing what's right for kids. I know that in my day job, I talk to a lot of school leaders and district leaders, and it's just been so well received. It's rolled out so well. I think it's a good piece of legislation.
Thanks.
What's the other thing?
I would say the funding in this bill.
Funding in this. Cool. Yes. Great. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Probably those two things.
So now you're home and you've got the interim. What you up to? What are you doing?
I am back working at Occunet,
nice,
which has been really good. And then I'm still doing the politics thing. So I
that's still a thing.
That's still here. So, anyways, no,
so did you retain your position at Occunet, or did you kind of have to?
Technically,
you got demoted.
I got demoted in many ways. But no, I got demoted, and which was fine. And naturally, so it was like just can't be in this role and lead a team. So I am now doing I'm back doing more strategic work with our contracting team, but also some negotiations, and so it's shifted a little, which has been a new challenge because obviously this job is part-time, and I think it's important that there's a balance. Of course, I think it's important that we remember that at the beginning when we decided, our founding fathers decided that this should be part-time, it was because they could go back home to their families and they could farm and ranch and be back with normal individuals than the politics world. And so I think it's really important for me to be back here, to be back working. And then still, obviously, a lot of the time, too, is spent back in the community. I've got a lot of people that I need to catch up with, a lot of local community groups. We met, a few weeks ago about education. Yeah. And so a lot of that for me is connecting with people here that have been gone for 6 months, some fundraising, and then, just being back in the community, doing the things that I would have done if I wasn't here, if I wasn't here. So it's good to be back working, and I'm glad not to be in Austin right now. So yeah.
I always say I go to Austin, certainly not as much as you, but I'm like, I chose to live in Amarillo for a reason.
Exactly. Well, and these are the real people. I feel like I'm actually in Texas when I'm in Amarillo. So, for sure. But and then there's a lot of speaking engagements. That's a lot. I'm doing a lot of that, just giving people updates, trying to make sure people, if they have questions about legislation, making sure we connect to constituents to be sure this is what the bill does. There's a lot of questions like that, a lot of constituent work. Thankfully, we have a great team here that's so helpful. I could not do it without them. So they've been instrumental in being effective here in Amarillo.
What are you looking at into next session?
Well, there are a few things. Right now, there's not any specific legislation that I'm for sure going to file this. I'm really interested in learning more about, obviously, water. That topic is so complex. And when I served on natural resources, I thankfully got exposed to a lot. But it's just it will be a huge fight next session, I believe. It was a little controversial this session, but I think as we start passing more legislation that's based on individual districts, it will become a big fight. Everybody wants, we want East Texas water. They have so much water. How do we get it?
Yeah.
Then you have the Dallas fight. It's just so complicated. Anyway, so I'd say water. I also think I care a lot about education, and I care a lot about figuring out, we have so many regulations for education. And I think this is a bill we talked about that didn't pass, but I'm hoping to work on it, is the teacher trainings. How many trainings teacher have to take, which obviously we need our teachers to take trainings, but let's be mindful of how many we need to actually mandate. Because I think we talked about this. There's several that you're just like, I don't think
they do a lot.
They do a lot, yes. So education, obviously rural healthcare, still looking at that. That's a very, I feel like, highly complicated issue. And then kid safety. I did a lot of bills on kid safety. I think with the development of AI is incredible. I think it's awesome. I think there's also an element about kid safety of, you've seen these chatbots that are talking about sexual comments. You've seen ChatGPT. I think there was an article about, was it a boy who got married to ChatGPT or proposed something?
I missed that one.
Yeah. And so there's just an avenue of, and I'm learning as I'm going about what does it look like, because we don't want to overregulate. I think we want to allow that to grow. And I think it's an incredible new development. And I think, I use ChatGPT, but I also think when we talk about our kids and what they're being exposed to, big tech does not care about our kids.
That's right.
They care about their bottom line. Yep. And I'm very passionate about what does the line look like. I mean, as a lawmaker, your priority is to protect the citizens. And so if kids are being victims of, sexual predators, pornographic material that's now through AI, I have full stop, no tolerance. And so I'm really interested in that. But yeah, those are a few of the things. Obviously, this last session, I was really mindful of members file 50 plus bills. And we just don't need that many bills passed, honestly. We pass way too many bills. And I get it. It's fun to pass bills. I love passing bills. But like I said, there's a lot of unintended consequences. So my first session, I tried to focus on I only filed probably 12 bills, 12, 13. I passed 10 of them. And I tried to just
Which is pretty remarkable for a freshman.
Well, thank you.
It is.
I enjoyed it very much. I did work very hard. But so this next session, I'm more focused on doing that same thing about, let's be mindful about the 13, 15 bills I want to file. And then I have room to work all of them. I'm not just filing them to file them. So I would say right now it's still in the learning process of even from hearing from constituents about, hey, we really care about this bill. Could you help us with it? And that's my favorite work, is when constituents come and say, hey, Caroline, we need help on this issue. Can we pass a bill on it? And I'm like, let's find the answer. What can we do to help, and figure out if there's anything we can do.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the bigness of, specifically when you're talking about AI and the implications it's going to have on our young kids, whether it be from sexual content, from untrue content, and being able to determine what is real and what is not moving forward, and, the mental health and all of that. That's a big problem to try to look at.
It is a big problem. I think I care about because I'm 26 and I understand a little bit more, I think, than probably your 50-year-olds, because I grew up in the digital world. I did, and thankfully my parents were, I think when I was 13, the iPhone came out in 2007. So I was 8-year-old, my parents I didn't get an iPhone until I was a senior in high school. Sure. But even now, the developments of it for kids, and I also think a lot of it's a culture issue. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot. I believe we can pass policy that helps. We can obviously try to protect kids. Obviously, when it's I passed a bill about pornographic AI material, that it's a criminal offense, and anything AI pornographic is not okay. So we passed that, but I also think a lot of it's culture, parents realizing we've got to be mindful about what our kids see. We've got to be mindful about what they're exposed to. We've got to protect them. And obviously I think you can be innocent but not naive. And I think that we can educate our kids in a way that protects them. But I also think we've got to be aware of what's at least out there. And I think it's hard because I think big tech manipulates to say, hey, you have this, for example, Apple. We got the Apple and Google, really big tech, sued the state of Texas yesterday over a bill I filed, the App Store Accountability Act.
The what?
App Store Accountability Act. It's the bill that allows parents to approve or deny, and then it doesn't allow big tech to sell minors' data online. And we knew they would sue. So they sued yesterday. Well, the issue with this is that at the end of the day, big tech only cares about their bottom line. Like they're creating these new developments so that kids are more addicted to content, so that we're more addicted as adults to content. It's just part of it. And that's fine. They're in this, they can do that. But when it comes to, they have a family plan that they say, here's these age ratings. So they put out content saying, hey, Skylar, for your kiddo, here's your family plan that you can implement so that your kid isn't exposed to pornographic, sexual, whatever material. Yeah. Well, when we looked into their age ratings on their family plan, their definition of different age appropriate items are for like a 13-year-old, mild pornographic material, mild violence, fantasy, anything like that. And I think like drugs and all of that. So their age ratings are misleading to parents. So they act like to the consumer, we're pro-family, we want to help you. Yeah. But when you go do the detailed research, your kid has access to all these kinds of apps that are totally inappropriate for a 14-year-old that most people would agree. And that's my issue. It's not that we need to regulate, but I'm more like big tech, be transparent. Yeah. Like, at least just be transparent. Right. Don't act like you're protecting kids when you think a 14-year-old should be able to look at pornography. Right. And that's really my issue with what's going on. Anyways, sorry. That was a rabbit hole.
No, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good legislation. As a parent, just hearing that, I was unaware of this piece of legislation. As a parent, just hearing that makes me mad because I'm like, no. When I set my kids up on, whatever, and do my due diligence as a responsible parent and put parental controls, the idea that whenever I check, okay, my son's 11, so I'm going to check in that, 10 to 13 range or whatever, the idea that that's not enough is misleading and distrustful.
Exactly.
And I think unfair.
It is. And that's why we passed the bill. When we found this out, we were like, okay, Apple, you're not being transparent. Apple and Google, really. You're not being transparent about these age ratings. Like, I remember when I started doing a deep dive for a 14-year-old, there was an app. Actually, I think it was rated, don't quote me on this, but I think it was rated like 7 and down, under. Anyways, there was an app you could download called Sex Roulette. Jesus. And essentially it was a game that you could take a photo and strike different poses or, whatever it is. And it was, when I was researching things, it would just boil my skin because I would be like, parents like you are trying to do the right thing by saying, great, I'm glad Apple and Google have this family plan. This is incredible. I mean, it's not your fault you don't know. I didn't know until I researched it and thought, whoa, they're totally misleading the consumer. And I just have zero tolerance for that at all. I think about like my nieces and nephews and think about like if they, even victims of predators online, they have all, that's still also allowed within this family plan.
It's a whole big world out there.
It's horrible. Yeah. So.
Okay, so you've mentioned big tech, you've mentioned water.
Yes.
Where are we at on Fermi?
That's a great question. I am still educating myself as we go. Yeah. I know that we had the city council meeting 2 nights ago, I believe? Yes. Somewhere.
This week.
We had a city council meeting this week, which I think was good for the public to come in. I think that Cole and the city council members are doing a really good job of trying to be as transparent, to try to open up all the questions possible. So I've been really impressed with that. I actually met with Mayor Stanley yesterday and some other folks about security. Like when we look at Fermi coming here, how do we make sure we have the top security for citizens here in Amarillo, but also for this data center? And I'm really impressed that at least, we have leadership that's trying to look forward and see what are the problems we might have and how do we go ahead and have the conversations now instead of being naive and saying, great, it's coming, la, 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 great. So I think they're being as transparent as they can be. I think, obviously, we talked about this earlier with water, like what happens with water. Is there enough? I think I've heard a lot about that. Obviously, based on my information and research, I don't think that's as big of a problem as we think it is. And I think right now it's educating citizens of Amarillo and the community to understand why the water may not be an issue. Like I know with I believe it's with the data center, the water is reused. So there's no new water added. And then a lot of the water is brackish water, which is water we don't drink every day. So I think obviously there's still a lot to learn. I'm still learning a lot. I think it is a potential incredible opportunity for Amarillo for us to be put on the map for new jobs. It's really an incredible opportunity. So I think the question really is in the next, year, how are we doing the best we can to inform the citizens, to be sure we're being mindful of what's coming up, and just look at what we need to do to make sure it's successful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of learning.
a lot of learning
to occur for everybody. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so 26, you said?
26.
26. First session as a state rep. I think by all accounts a very successful one. Where are you headed? What's your horizon plan? Are you going to sit state rep? Are you going to go back to Occunet after a couple sessions? Are you going climbing up this ladder?
I have no plans right now. I feel like
That's always the politician answer.
I know
by
it
the
is.
way.
I agree. It is the politician answer, but I think because I'm so young, like I don't know. I'm planning on running again.
Cool.
I loved it. Like I'll run again. Hopefully I won't have an opponent. And I really enjoyed what I got to do for District 87. So the plan is to stay in the seat, obviously. And I think the nice thing is because I'm so young, I'm still learning a lot. So I don't have plans right now to, we'll see. Doors can open, and I'm definitely going to tell you I'm interested in them.
Nice.
I'm not going to lie about that. But I also know, like, I want to have a family and have kids. And so that's another element that I'm going to have to juggle and figure out what's best for that. So I would say right now the plan is to stay in this position. I'm so honored to get to serve in this capacity, and then we'll see what doors open.
Yeah. Well, for rural Texas and the Panhandle, a strong leader just bodes better for us.
Exactly.
I think that representation is continuing to shrink, just as as our populations change, and so I know that that having a solid rep in that seat is really good for the Panhandle.
I agree. So yeah, I've loved it so far. So if Amarillo will have me, I'm gonna stick around for a little while longer.
If you're starting or growing a small business and need some cash, let me tell you about Amarillo Venture Capital. They are a Hey Amarillo sponsor. They're locally owned, and what makes them different is they don't just invest in businesses. They invest in people. Whether you need $5,000 or $50,000, they offer flexible, asset-based loans, often with funding in a week or less. And it's not just the money. They can connect you with their local network of legal, accounting, and business resources to help you succeed. Check them out at amarilloventurecapital.com.
All right, I'm back with Caroline Fairley. Caroline, this is the part of the show we call 8 Straight. I've got 8 questions for you. Ready?
Great, I'm ready.
Cool. When you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
I hope for more investment in growth for families people that grow up here, that we would have a culture and environment that they want to come back and raise their kids and also invest. I think that's a really neat part of Amarillo that we have here, but I would say I want to continue to foster that. I was at the Texas Tech vet school. They had their first graduating class.
Yeah.
And I've been there a few times to visit with students, but I was there particularly like right before the graduation, was talking with some vet students, and a lot of them are staying here in the area to practice. And I think that's one of the amazing parts of this community is we have a lot of schools, community college, etc., that people can go to school here but continue to live here, raise their family, practice around here. And I think that's something that I want to see continue to grow in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Keep the gas pedal on that.
Exactly.
Other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
Wind is, wind, we have way too much wind. I think we're the 4th windiest city in the, I want to say country.
Really?
We are. Yes.
Yeah.
It's,
I believe it. I feel
insane.
it.
It's like, it's wild. When I talk to people about Amarillo, they're like, it's windy there, right? I'm like, it's very windy.
It is.
So with this question, I don't have, honestly, like, I think we have great people here, and I just don't think we can have too much of that ever. I just don't think so. And I would say other than wind, it's hard for me to think of anything that I'm like, this is too much we have of. I think we have incredible people here and a good community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does this area not have enough of?
Water. We definitely need more water. And then I would also say we need some direct flights to Austin.
Oh my gosh.
The amount of, if I stop
Girl,
in Dallas,
you
know this, but it's like 6 hours total. And by that time you think I could have just drove to Austin. But I would say some direct flights and water.
Yeah. What's your favorite local building?
First Baptist Church here. Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a historical building.
Is that where you go to church then?
It is where I go to church.
Cool.
I love that it's downtown Amarillo. I think it makes and adds a lot to the downtown. And then I just love the church. A lot of good people go there.
What's your favorite local restaurant?
So favorite local restaurant, I have actually a couple.
Yeah.
It's allowed.
Same.
I love OHMS. Love Crush downtown. I love Blue Sky. Blue Sky also has like a sentimental value. My family, every Saturday, we go there for burgers.
Oh, how fun.
Every Saturday since I was literally 5 years old. So it's a fun family tradition we have. So I also love Blue Sky for the sentimental reasons and great cheeseburgers.
Yeah, and they're good burgers.
Great burgers.
How do you describe Amarillo to people outside the area?
Generous, caring. I think we have a community that has each other's backs. When you look at even the fire that happened last year, Smokehouse Creek Fire, it was incredible to see people literally come together, help each other. And even when you look like Mystic, that horrible, horrible flood in Amarillo, even though it was in our region, people just come together and figure out, how do we raise money? How do we send people to go help? And I think that is a very unique thing. When people come to Amarillo, they feel welcomed. They feel like people want them here. They care about them. They ask, they say, hi, hello, how are you? And I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah. What's the most underrated aspect of living here?
Probably all of the education opportunities we have between Texas Tech Vet School, WT, Amarillo College, Vero. We have an incredible opportunity. Amtech. I mean, so many amazing educational opportunities here for people to be involved in.
Yeah. When was the last time you went to PDC?
It was end of August 30th.
Oh, nice.
I went to do a run there. I think I did the Lighthouse Trail.
Cool.
6 miles. It's
nice.
fun. Yeah, it's great. Great weather.
That's the trail, man.
That's the trail everybody goes to. I love it. Yeah.
All right, Caroline, that concludes 8 Straight. I like to end by asking my guests to endorse something. So what is something that if a listener doesn't yet know about, hasn't participated in the area, what would you have them know?
I would have them know, I don't know if I think this is allowed. I would say Palo Duro Canyon. It is an incredible place here. And I don't think people realize how beautiful it is. And it's literally 30 minutes in our backyard that we can go to. I love that there's a lot of people involved in it. I love that there's local races, bike races, running races. There's the 50K this weekend, 30K, 50K. But I would say we have this incredible nature, beautiful, walking scenery in our backyard.
And this year has been stunning.
It's been so green.
It's beautiful.
It's been beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is certainly a backyard treasure.
Yeah, it is.
Caroline, thanks so much for the time this morning, for your work and service to our district. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me, Skylar. I enjoyed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Get ready for more electrifying music from the Amarillo Symphony. In October, they'll be performing the very dramatic piece that we've all heard in the movies called Symphonie Fantastique, and will also feature the Lubbock native Fiona Shea on violin. In November, they'll take us on a cosmic journey with Holst's The Planets, with singers from WT and Canyon High School, followed in December by the beloved Happy Holiday Pops concerts featuring Annika Spalding from the Little Theater. With performances throughout the year, there's always an exciting experience waiting for you. Don't miss a single note. Visit amarillosymphony.org for tickets.
That concludes this episode. Thanks to Caroline for the interview. Thanks to the Amarillo Symphony, SKP Creative, and Venture Capital for supporting the podcast, and to Angelina Marie for editing it every week. And thank you for listening. This has been episode 420 of Hey Amarillo. I'm Skylar Gallup, and we hope you come back next week.